So we have our switch that connects all of our different computers that connects all of our different computers on our network. And one workstation can send a message to a particular workstation because it has an address on its network interface card. So hubs and switches, both of them do similar things, but a switch is much more complex or much more advanced than the hub. To remind you, hub, workstation B wants to communicate with workstation C, but the hub connects all the computers in the network. What do you think happens? So if B wants to send a message to C, will C get the message? Yes, but so does everyone else on the network. So it's not necessarily that they want to send secrets, but the other people may not be interested in the information that's going out. So they're almost like spam emails. A network switch, let's look at the same thing. B wants to send something to workstation C. The switch reads the address and it goes directly to C. So basically, hub is a fairly dumb, it's not a very sophisticated, it's fairly simple. The switch is much more intelligent. It can do a lot of different things and read addresses, and we won't get into the two complexities. Now, we have different parts of the network. Say we've got the two different buildings on the same site. They're in the same network. They have one server, one area. Say it's the library. They want to talk to people down in the science building. They have what is called a bridge to connect up two parts of the network. So we've got A through to E, which could be a small LAN or it could be one part of the network. And F to J is another part of the network. And there's a distance between the buildings, so they have a bridge that connects them. Now, if you've got hubs connected, what happens if C just wants to send out a message to one of the other computers? What do you think happens? Well, it went to every single computer in their part of the network, and then it went across the bridge to the next hub and sent it out to everyone else. Not a very efficient way to communicate or send data. A switch, however, what do you think happens if C wants to send a message to one of the other computers on the network? It can send it directly to A. No problems, doesn't go anywhere else. It might want to send it across to the other building. Still, no problem, switches read the addresses and go directly to the correct computer. Much more efficient. So a bridge is simply a device that connects multiple network segments. That is something you can put down in your computer, in your glossary, in your OneNote. And it could send across the bridge and send it directly to computer G, or if it chose to, it could send it to all the computers. And next we have WAN. If you remember what WAN is Wider Area Network. And it can be made up of several different ways. It can be a whole lot of LANs, local area networks connected together. It could be some local area networks connected up to one wide area network, which is then connected to other LANs. So it can be groups, different groups of WANs, some LANs, some WANs, whatever combination the organization wants. And I always like this image because I think it's the largest WAN in the world. It's an artist's impression of what the internet looks like. And this was a few years ago, and they probably have it even more complex now. So how are LANs connected to make a WAN? Well, we have some other things. So we don't have bridges because bridges are a bit simple. Within a WAN, you generally have a thing called a router. It looks like this, wireless router, and the routers connect up the LANs, which can go out to other routers, and to another WAN. A router is simply a device that talks to the outside world. It connects to the internet and it can provide the network with internet connections, establishing a LAN, and if enabled, a WAN. A router is simply a network device that forwards data packets between computer networks. Now, I do have a video that I will show you in a little while, but we'll just get through this. Computer networks, computer devices on a network. We have a few other things. The computers you have when you're at school would be called a client. We connect up all of our computers to servers. That's a more powerful computer, and that controls a lot of other devices. So our servers are in the Notebook Service Center, and they allow us to talk to, we have a printer server, we have a email server. So we have servers designed specifically to do specific things, and our little clients connect up to those servers and get them to perform what we want. A server in most cases provides one or more of the following functions: file storage and sharing, printer sharing, sharing of applications, databases, emails, and the internet. Servers help us function better. They really don't cope well with being switched off suddenly, and all of our servers here have battery backups, and if our network, our electricity went down at Whitefriars, we have a generator that will keep the servers going. They really don't like being closed down. So here's the sort of service we use. We have a web server, internet. We have a mail server, a storage server, and a printer server. We won't worry about that one. And we also have what's called a proxy server. We don't use them terribly much, but a proxy server allows you to, if I went out on the internet and I found some websites, it would keep a record of those website addresses. So when I go into class and tell you boys that I want you to go to these websites, the proxy server would have kept that information and would have made it therefore much more, allow you to access it much more quickly. And every network has to have a firewall for protection. A firewall protects us against, it can be hardware, it can be software put on the network to prevent unwanted communications from forbidden people. It stops viruses, it stops hackers, it stops spam. It protects us from the outside networks, from hostile users, if you like. We use the CEO as our major protection. All our Catholic schools belong to the Catholic Education Office in Melbourne, and they have a huge firewall. They have lots of software, and that is why sometimes you can't get onto various outside web addresses, because the CEO has detected something is wrong with that, or it's unsecured. So some sorts of things we have here. It can be hardware, as I said, or software. Norton, Microsoft, all have computer firewall applications. It is really important that you update your firewalls and your security often, because new viruses are being invented all the time. Okay, I think that's enough